In today's business world, being an average CEO is no longer an option. That's why we're committed to equipping you with the resources and the tactics necessary to not just survive, but to thrive. You're listening to Not Your Average CEO Lifeline podcast, where we are more than just a voice in the crowd. Everyone, welcome back. Not Your Average CEO Lifeline. Today we are talking, the podcast is titled Stop Chasing Leads, Start Creating Experiences. We have Vance as a guest speaker today. Vance, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and where you are today?
Sure thing. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Danielle. Appreciate you having me on the show. So I was a wee lad growing up in a log cabin. That's probably too far back. Sorry. So we'll go with I spent a little over a decade working for the Walt Disney Company, and I was in their resort division. So I was able to not only operate some of their attractions and some of their operations, but able to be on the design team. So there's a restaurant there called Chef Mickey's, and it seats 400 people and serves about 3,000 people a day. And it's where the characters get to come to your table. So one of the things at Disney, you wait in line for a lot of things. So, and it's included in your ticket. You'll stand in line and wait to get your autograph with Cinderella, and it's hot and you're sweaty and your kid's not happy. But with the character dining, you're actually sitting down, you're relaxing, you're eating, you're drinking, and the characters are coming to you. So completely different experience, and being on the design team for that was amazing for me. Um, Spent another 10 or so years out in the corporate world where I found I make a very lousy employee. I just don't like to be told what to do. So I said, well, let's move on to something else. So here in Maryland, right now, I own three home service businesses, all started from scratch. I got a Oriental rug washing facility, a mold remediation company, and then a traditional carpet cleaning company. And I took all of my Disney knowledge, marketing and systems and customer experience, put it into those three businesses. And today they literally run on autopilot. I spend about 90 minutes a week on those businesses. I have a general manager who runs things, and I just need to meet with him every week and cash the checks, kiss the babies, and that kind of thing. So it gave me a lot of free time. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners are always looking for, oh my God, how do I, get away from this for a little bit? And I was able to do that with systems and processes and things. Uh, but I could have, I guess, just sat on the beach and drank beer and eat bonbons. But I figured, let's do something a little more productive. So I started coaching and consulting on all things customer experience and customer retention. And here we are today.
Here we are. That's a
Wonderful.
wonderful, yeah. And I think most of our entrepreneurs that are listening are probably in the hustle stage, right? So where you currently are is, I'm assuming, their ideal situation, right? Businesses that run on autopilot and you have to meet with your team, but you are not in the day to day. So, um, my first question though is going to be about customer experience. So, what did you learn from Disney about customer experience that most small businesses may miss?
Sure, I think one of the big things is systems. And to be able to deliver a consistently extraordinary experience. When I first started at Disney, I was on the opening team of the Yacht and Beach Club Resort. And this was before computers and everybody having a phone in their hand. And we walked into the training room, and there's just stacks and stacks of 3-inch binders. And I asked my boss, I said, what the heck's all this? He goes, well, those are all the SOPs and OJTs on how to open and operate a Disney resort. That was really my first lesson from Disney, was everything is systems. So if you think about a magic show, and if you're in the audience and you're watching the magician and he dices the lady up into 27 pieces, scatters her all around, slaps her back together again, you're like, oh wow, that was cool. You're in awe, you're in wonderment. But if you think about it from the magician's point of view, it's all repeatable, replicatable, and practiced hand movements that create that illusion. So every customer should get the same fantastic experience from your company. Having systems behind it almost guarantees that you're going to do that consistently for every single one of your customers. So it wasn't, I know it's not a wow idea or how to pick up trash or, talk to every customer. Systems really are going to make sure that you have that consistency, and systems are going to give you freedom from having to work on those things.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question to that, Vance. When you talk about those systems, and that's sort of helping to create that Disney magic that everyone has heard about. So for a company that is a small business and they don't have the budget of a Disney, for example, how can they recreate those types of systems, similar but on a budget?
Yeah, great question. Because I mean, unless you own your own roller coaster or theme park or have a cast of characters, I have people always ask me, well, why do we want to copy Disney? It's not that you want to copy what they're doing, you want to adapt what they're doing into your business. So Disney is a master at taking all of the boring, mundane things that we have to do day in and day out to keep the business up and running. Each one of those points on the customer journey, Disney's just figured out a way to make an experience out of it. Um, so let me give you an example. So in my carpet cleaning business, one of the boring, mundane things we have to do is get into the home. If we can't get in the house, we can't do our service. So we created an entire experience out of getting into the home. For us, it starts out in the street. So we park in the street. We don't park in the driveway. God forbid I got an oil leak. Now I got something else I got to clean up. Technician gets out of his van in a clean uniform because he carries extra uniforms with him in case he gets dirty. He also does not smell because I forbid cologne and I forbid smoking. Nothing worse than the Marlboro man who just took a shower in Axe showing up in your living room. It's gross and it's off-putting. He has a mat with him and a little gift. He goes up to the front door, lays down his mat. We knock on the door. We don't ring the bell. Takes a couple of steps back. When Mrs. McGillicuddy answers the door, we say, "Hi, my name's Josh. I'm here to create your healthy home. May I come in?" So we don't just barge in. Then we do the theater part. We do an exaggeration of wiping our feet on the mat, and then we put little booties on our clean shoes. And as we're entering the home, we give Mrs. McGillicuddy a gift. Now, when you go out to dinner and you go over to a friend's house, you're going to bring a bottle of wine or some hors d'oeuvres or something. So we feel, well, we're going to somebody's house. We should bring them something too. So we give her a gift. Now, I got to ask you both. Have you ever had like a pest control or a carpet cleaner come to your house and give you a gift before they've done any work?
I know that's a no for me. And Nicole and I have both been having work done in our houses these past couple months, and she hasn't mentioned to me that either. So,
So doing that though is one, it separates me from everybody else out there because
sure.
nobody else is doing it. It gives you word of mouth. You hear of word of mouth marketing? Well, this is something for people to talk about. And at the end of the day, it's like, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened when the carpet cleaner came. They gave me a gift. Now, and it's not like a chip clip. I'm talking, it's a custom little blue box. It's got a bottle of spot remover, a little bag of Entenmann's cookies, and a note from me saying thank you for allowing us into your home.
Oh, that's really nice.
That just completely sets us apart. But it also does something else. It starts a process called reciprocity. I give something to you, you feel compelled to give something back to me. So when we implemented the gift, we saw a 26% increase in our mid-tier package, or about an additional $65,000 in sales just from the little $4 gift box that we give out.
Wow, that's
I will have
amazing.
to say, Danielle, I remembered something since Vance's Danielle said we've been having work done on both of our houses. Um, the plumber brought gifts for my kids when he realized that I had kids that were going to be
Oh,
in the
that's
home
cute.
when he came in. And I will tell you that I would recommend him because he made a point to, my kids were like, "Oh, somebody's here," right? So
Yep.
it was very memorable and definitely something I would recommend. So Vance, I loved that you give gifts because it stands out from the competition, which there can be a lot.
100%. Maybe he's one of
So
my clients and is just copying me.
That's totally true. That.
It could be,
Maybe,
could be. You
maybe.
never know.
So, Vance, why do you say that business owners should stop obsessing over new leads and maybe focus more on their current customers?
Sure. Oh, great question. So you knew, and I want to preface this with you do need new customers for the growth of the business. So I don't want anybody to think I'm suggesting that you don't get that. I am suggesting that you focus more on your customers that you already have. So I'll give you, if this stat doesn't convince anybody, then I don't know what will. So last month, I just got last month's reports for my carpet cleaning business. Cost me $126 to get a new customer in the front door. So that's, the pay-per-click ad, that's the guy answering the phone, everything, all in, 126 bucks. That's your client acquisition cost, which is a number every business owner should know. On the other hand, for me to market to my existing customers, it only cost me $22. So if I clean for an existing customer, I'm already $100 more profitable than if I had cleaned for a new one because I didn't have to go out and buy them again. The other thing with existing customers is the whole know, like, and trust. They've already spent money with you. Hopefully, you've stayed top of mind, and they are more susceptible to new services. So if you all of a sudden launch a new project or a new service, your existing customers should be the first people to know about it because they'll probably buy it. So when we launched our mold company, we already had the list of carpet cleaning clients. We just sent it out to them, and we got like half a dozen jobs just from that. Um, they're also great for cross-selling, upselling, and referrals. As Nicole, just said about your story with the plumber. I got no problem referring this guy now because he took care of my kids. And that's what you want to get across. So yeah, if you went to Disney right now, 80% of the people at Disney today have been there before. 80%. That's a huge number. And only 20% are new. If it's a good enough ratio for Disney, it's a good enough ratio for me. So my goal in my businesses is 80% repeat, 20% new, and it keeps us on the growth path profitably.
That that makes sense. I think, we were talking a little bit about new leads, and even though you've been doing this for a long time, it seems like you still care very deeply about new leads and acquiring new customers. Um, why do you think business owners should take that same approach and be sort of obsessive over finding new leads, even if they've been in business for a while and they're already relatively successful?
Sure, you need in growth mode, definitely need new leads and new customers for that. I think acquiring them, though, you now can be more picky, more choosy on who you want to do business with. Um, so one of the companies, there was a huge, or there still is, a large auto dealership that I wanted as a client. This is about 10, 12 years ago. I could never get a meeting with the guy. He was always, out or busy or whatever. So I said, well, this could be, he owns like 9 auto dealerships. So I said, I got to get a meeting with the guy. So I sent him a steering wheel through the mail. No box, no nothing, just the steering wheel, put a stamp on it, put a little sales letter. Never heard from him. So 2 weeks later, I send him a turn signal, just the light part. Again, didn't hear from him. 2 weeks later, I send him the butt end of a muffler without the long pipe part, but just that little fat part. Slapped a stamp on it, put a sales letter on it, mailed it out. Next day, I get a call from him, not even his assistant, but from him. He says, look, if I give you a meeting, will you stop sending me car parts? I said, well, of course, that was the whole plan all along. End of last year, so end of 2024, we just crossed the $900,000 mark with that client. So
Wow.
once you're established, now you can spend the money you need to go after the big kahunas or the big whales in your industry that will make a significant impact on your business. So I think it's not just Flakebook ads or Google pay-per-click or mailings and stuff like that that are
Sure.
done in mass. Now it's targeted. Okay, how if I get one and he's going to be worth X dollars? Well, that's huge. How do I get to
Yeah.
him?
Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific. Mm, switching gears a little bit to talk about profit. What where do you I know that you've talked about this before, and I think our audience can really benefit from learning about how to find the hidden leaks in the profits, in the profit pipelines.
Sure. There are a lot of places you can look for leaks, and unfortunately, most of them are negative. Uh, Employee theft is going to happen. I don't care who they are, what business you're in, they're going to steal from you. If you sell products, they're stealing the products. If you sell a service, they're going to go and they're going to do a job off the books and collect the cash. Ask me how I know,
Mhm.
because that's happened to me. I mean, you put as many systems in place as possible to prevent these kinds of things, but it does happen. But I think the biggest leak in businesses is having your customers just be one and done and not having a customer retention system that is going to keep your customers for life. And what a lot of business owners forget is that it's not the company's job or the customer's job to remember you. It's your job as the business owner to remind companies that you exist. So being able to stay top of mind. So I had a HVAC company came out a year and a half ago or so to take a look at the heat. Didn't click on the first cold day, so they came out, did a great job. Reasonable price, really nice lady. Took care of our home, and she even had booties for her. Um, and this year, the air conditioning didn't click on. It was making a horrible noise at the beginning of the summer. And I'm looking all around. I can't find an invoice. I can't find a business card. There's no magnet stuck to the unit out there. I had no idea who had come. They did a great job, but I never heard from them again. No email, no little quarterly postcard or anything like that. So I had to go back to Google. Now, I could have got the same company. I don't know, maybe, but I probably got somebody different. So they lost my business just for the fact that they did not continue to follow up and they did not have a retention system in place. And that's really the biggest leak, is keeping your customers close. So you have this system that keeps them in and your competitors out.
Vance, your examples have been really telling about your experience, and they are really teachable moments for our audience. So thank you for talking to them in this way. I'm really enjoying it. I have a question though that relates to your consulting and coaching business. What are some of the biggest pain points that you hear with um, your clients that come to you through that business?
Sure, most of the pain points are they're getting price shopped. So they are competing on price, which is their own fault because if all you ever do is advertise your price, well, you're competing on price and everybody knows it. You're going to get your competitor runs a coupon. Well, there is no competitive advantage to being second cheapest. So now you got to run a coupon that undercuts him. And it's just a race to the bottom. You want to go the other direction. And instead of being a commodity, because if you think about it in the finance world, the markets set the price for commodities, sugar, flour, iron ore, markets set those prices. We don't have any control over them. But in experience, we have tremendous control over the price that we charge for an experience. So, give you a quick example. So I have a oil change company. They have kind of like a Jiffy Lube, Quick Lube kind of guys, but they're independent. He's got four of these shops, and he was in a race to the bottom. Every time Jiffy Lube ran a promotion or cut the price, he had to cut it. He was worn out. He wasn't as profitable as he wanted to. His employees were, turning over quite a bit. So I said, look, you can't be second cheapest and you don't want to be cheapest. So let's go the other direction and really raise the price and create an experience out of your oil change. So after we did a lot of work together, but we decided that he was going to be a 1950s style oil change. Like if you remember the four guys that run out and you got the little bow tie on and the white shirt and gloves, and one guy squeegees your windshield, the other one checks the air pressure in your tire, and then one guy is escorting you into the waiting room where there's actually today's newspaper, not something from 6 years ago. And there's a barista in the waiting room making your favorite coffee drink for you. Now, we did a whole bunch of other things, but the result of, and there wasn't a big, I want everybody to notice, there's either little or no expense in creating these experiences. All right. So my whole get in the front door thing cost me nothing. It didn't cost me anything to do that and make that impression. So he didn't have to, he invested, I think, in the coffee machine, and that was it. So now, fast forward, he's about 45% higher in price than any one of his competitors, and he's got one like two doors down on his street. There's less wear and tear on his building. He's doing a few less in volume, but he's making it up in price. His employees, his least tenured employee is 18 months. In the oil change world, that's like 16 lifetimes. And the barista is actually one of the oil change guys. They rotate that job throughout the week. So people love it. And they're now attracting a better clientele because it's not just wham bam, get them in, get them out. It's now an experience. And he was, with experiences, as I said, there's tremendous price elasticity. So he's right now at 45% higher than his closest competitor and laughing all the way to the bank.
Wow, that's terrific. Your advice has been extremely unique on our podcast. Danielle, before we ask Vance our last question, do you have anything else that you want to pull a tidbit from him?
Yeah, I would love, I think our audience loves to hear things that they can take, practical steps they can put into action really quickly. Do you have a handful, two, three, practical steps that you think our clients can do, our audience can do this week to start improving their client interactions?
So quick exercise for everybody to do is map out your customer journey. Get a sheet of paper and put a whole bunch of little boxes on it and say, okay, where does the customer first interact with your company? Is it a postcard? Is it an ad? Do they walk into your showroom or your store? And then every time the customer and your company interacts is one of the points on this map or on this journey. Then look at it and decide, okay, if I focus just on one or two of these things and improve them, how much of an impact would that make on the business for profitability, for customer retention, for new customer acquisition? And that's my whole consulting shtick is that right there. So you just got the whole thing. But it's just taking one point at a time and figuring out how to make an experience out of it, like we did getting into somebody's home. Most people, where they start is with the telephone. If you answer the phone in your business, you got to have a unique way that you're answering the telephone so that you stand out. The other thing is you need to answer the telephone. I can't tell you the number of home service companies that have a bot or an AI thing or just voicemail, and getting to a human is like option 19. No,
Yeah.
my competitive advantage in my home service companies is that I got a live guy answering the phone. You never get a machine. And I think if your company's too big for that, option number one should be connect to a live person. Don't make them go through the whole kit and caboodle. But going back to the customer journey, snap that thing out. And don't think you got to do it all at once. So that whole get into the customer's house, it probably took us about a year to get it to where it is today. It was just one little improvement on top of another, one little improvement on top of another. And that was actually, and Walt Disney actually came up with a term called plussing, which is constant improvement, making it better. So you just look at, okay, how do I plus answering the phone? How do I plus sending thank you notes to my customers? I think, and that's the last thing I'll tell you, big secret, handwritten thank you notes. Nobody's doing them. They aren't. They just don't do them. If you can do a handwritten thank you note to each one of your customers after a service or they buy your product, you are going to be so far ahead of the game. People call me and say, "Oh my God, did you really write that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did. Wasn't a robot."
So Vance, can you tell our audience, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to say, what the phrase "not your average CEO" means to you?
Not your average CEO means that you don't take no for an answer. You continue to find ways around or through, over whatever obstacles are in your way to get to your goal. See, the rules were designed for the common folk. Okay, the rules don't apply to entrepreneurs. Okay, we're above the rules. Now, in jest a little bit, but you've got to find a way to bend and massage and get around rules legally and ethically, of course, and get you to your goal. Because there's that to me is really the essence of being an entrepreneur is getting through all the roadblocks, getting over the speed bumps, and getting to your goal.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Vance, for sharing with us today. This has been truly one of my favorite episodes and something that I will remember. Can you tell our audience where they can find more about you? And as always, we include it in our show notes.
Sure thing. Actually, got a little gift for everybody. It is a report I put together called 52 Ways to Wow Your Customer Without Breaking the Bank. So it's got one wow a week, so 52 wows that are either low or no cost. And literally you start with that and you'll see the results immediately if once you start implementing these little wows. And you can find that at wow52ways.com.
And we will include that in the show notes as well.
Thank you so much, Vance. You've been listening to Not Your Average CEO Lifeline with your hosts Danielle Cuomo, CEO, and Nicole Gallicchio-Elz, COO. This podcast has been sponsored by Virtual Assist USA. If you'd like to know more about the hosts or exploring virtual assistant services, visit virtualassistusa.com for more information.